What up, ladies and gents? This is George Bean, and is this a coincidence or what? Now to begin. Today, with Thanksgiving now here, I decided to review a certain holiday comedy classic from the late acclaimed John Hughes, that being the 1987 film Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, of which he'd written and directed, and starring Steve Martin and the brilliant John Candy. And perfect timing here, I've done here, since it is the 30th anniversary for this movie. Upon this film's release in November 1987, it was greeted with critical acclaim, as it showed that John Hughes, who I am sure y'all know who he is, could do more than just high school teen movies. It even gotten two thumbs up from Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert, with Siskel declaring it to be John Candy's best role to date, and even Candy had once considered it to be his favorite film as well, and it has a 94% positive rating on the Rotten Tomatoes website. Our plot? The film follows a high marketing executive in New York named Neil Page, played by Steve Martin, who only has 3 days to join his family in Chicago, Illinois, for Thanksgiving. But as his rushing trip begins, he ends up meeting a fellow companion named Del Griffith, played brilliantly by the late but great John Candy, who is a shower curtain ring salesman. Unfortunately, due to a raging snowstorm, their flight ends up landing in Wichita, Kansas, thus forcing Neil and Del to go on a 2-day road trip to reach Chicago, and along the way, chaotic hijinks ensues for the odd couple, but in the end, their friendship ends up growing over time. Steve Martin is brilliant in this movie. The way he plays the straight man, who has quite possibly the worst 3-day trip in his life, but he also has moments where his character develops and grows as he gets to learn more about who Del Griffith is. But I just love watching him get frustrated when life comes and slaps him in the face. Like when he goes to find a rental car, only to find it's not there, and that his transport bus just leaves him, forcing him to angrily walk all the way back to the airport to complain about the missing car, ranting at the desk clerk in the one only scene where the F word is used 18 times in 1 minute. Which is the reason the movie has an R rating. And you know what? The F word is used perfectly to a T, and it works great. I cannot imagine this scene without that. I cannot imagine this movie without that scene alone. I'd say this is quite possibly John Candy's very best film, as he plays a character whom you initially think as an obnoxious annoyance. But as the film progresses, you get to know more of who his character Del really is, and that he admits that he may be such, but deep down, he reveals that he chooses to be who he really is, and not to be a cold-hearted cynic, unlike what his companion Neil is. Throughout the film, Del gives passing mentions of having a wife named Maureen waiting for him at home, but in the end, it all comes into place, and it is eventually revealed that his wife had been dead for 8 years and that he has no home, so Del has been a nomadic loner with no one to truly connect with. When Del reveals that his wife's been dead for 8 years, you just instantly feel gut-wrenched by this revelation. It's so heartbreaking. My favorite scene to say is when Nell and Del spend their first night at the motel, sleeping in the one single bed. Yeah, we're really going on that part when you watch that movie. And Neil gets frustrated and calls him out for who he is. But then Del opens up and counter-argues that he is proud of who he is, with the most heartwarming speech you could ever hear a comedic actor ever say in a movie, which was, "You want to hurt me? Go right ahead if it makes you feel any better. I'm an easy target. Yeah, You're right. I talk too much. I also listen too much. I could be a cold-hearted cynic like you, but I don't like to hurt people's feelings. Well, you think what you want about me. I'm not changing. I like I like me. My wife likes me. My customers like me. 'Cause I'm the real article. What you see is what you get. And when possibly my favorite piece of score kicks in, you feel so gut-wrenched by his speech, and you do start to soften up to Dell. If that speech alone doesn't get to your heartstrings, then you have no soul. That is quite possibly the best speech ever uttered by a comedian ever, and John Candy does it perfectly. It's very heartwarming. As for the piece of music, when that happens, I'll put a little link to the piece of score down below in the section. Listen to that music score, along with the Power Academy song related to it as well. But then after that scene, the morning after they wake up, cuddled up together, and question why they are, Neil asks where Dell's hand is. Dell says, between the two pillows. And then the shocked Neil then says, those aren't pillows, and they quickly jump out of the bed, and then try to change the subject to the Bears game. They're gonna go all the way. Classic. It's just like, yeah, let's never talk about that again. This never leaves the hotel room. Brilliant. And afterwards, when dining, they both find out that their wallets have been robbed by a passerby. Dell then says, we've been robbed, before Neil sarcastically says, do you think so? Brilliant. I love Neil's response. Fantastic. I love this one moment when Neil encounters Dell again, and in his attempt to jog his memory, he pictures Dell with the taxi door, and Dell doing that with the door in front of him. That was brilliant. I love that bit. It's a quick moment, but I just love that. Just had to jog his memory by having the taxi door in front of him. And another hilarious moment is when they're driving down a nightly lit road and realize they're going the wrong way as two trucks are hurtling towards them. But they manage to slide right in between the two trucks, with the sides of the cars just hitting the trucks, sparks flying everywhere, and for a quick glimpse, you see them turning into screaming skeletons. Brilliant. And then Neil imagines Dell as the devil cackling. That is just hilariously fantastic. It's those little moments like that you don't ever see in comedies nowadays. It's just done so brilliantly in this movie. I miss comedies like this. And as they're recovering from their near-fatal car accident, their car, a Chrysler LeBaron, I should mention, I'll bring that up very soon, suddenly gets caught on fire, and what do? They start laughing their asses off. And that's when Neil finds out that Dell used, by accident, based on an accidental switch, Dell used Neil's credit card for the car, and it becomes a hilarious argument before Dell reveals that he put the card back in Neil's wallet, which is in the burning car. After a silent moment, Neil then gut punches Dell before he then trips over Dell's trunk case. I bursted out laughing when he tripped over the trunk. That is just great. What a great way to end such a scene. I also love when they're arguing. When they're arguing, they shake their heads like... it's just brilliant. They do it twice when they do it, but it's just brilliant. It's like, what the fuck? And the reason I bring up their car being a LeBaron is because a few years ago, my family used to own a Chrysler LeBaron, but we've only had it for 6 months, because one day, we found it on fire in our driveway. It was just on fire, the fire raging. But nobody was in the car when it happened, thankfully. Nobody was injured. Just needed to bring that up. The fire department said that the fire was likely caused by a short circuit in the adjustable seats. But I just find it funny that our LeBaron ends up on fire, and in this movie, Neil and Dell's LeBaron ends up on fire, so irony for me. What I should mention is that, apparently, according to editor Paul Hirsch, who edited this movie, the original cut of this film was 3 hours and 40 minutes long before Hirsch and John Hughes decided to edit it down to 2 hours. This second version was test screened, and it was probably used to edit trailers for the film, which is why they show a lot of deleted scenes. The movie was then edited again down to 1 hour and 33 minutes for theatrical release. According to Hirsch, the 2-hour version still exists, but he doesn't know where it is, possibly in a Paramount vault, but by now the film has possibly deteriorated. And in all honesty, I would love to see the original 3-hour cut, just to see all the material that was cut out. And with a movie that you deeply love, you sometimes would like to see the original longer cut. Another thing to say, in the opening scene when Neil is chasing after a taxi for the airport, he ends up racing with another guy. That's Kevin Bacon, believe it or not. He also starred in another John Hughes directed film, She's Having a Baby, which I believe was released around the same time as this movie. Oh, and also, one of Neil's little son is played by a young, very young Joey Lawrence, but back when he used to have hair, so keep an eye watch on that kid. One thing I should mention is that the film's premise has been used again in the extremely similar 2010 film Due Date, starring Robert Downey Jr. and Zach Galifianakis, and directed by Todd Haynes. The latter two having done the surprising 2009 comedy film The Hangover. And while the movie didn't exactly achieve hangover-level excess, I honestly did enjoy it. I just find it hilarious to watch Downey go through the shit he goes through in that movie. One hell of a weekend with that guy. I still watch it, it's pretty funny. But, overall, I'd have to give Planes, Trains, and Automobiles my rating of 8 stars out of 10. Because it is a fun and hilarious road trip movie with a heartwarming message to it, about two unlikely people learning to become friends, and the hilarious hijinks that ensues between them. It is, I also believe, one of John Hughes' very best directorial works ever. It's such a shame that his career kind of went a bit downhill in the 1990s after Home Alone 2. I think John Candy's untimely death from heart attack in 1994 had hit him very hard, and it's understandable why. After seeing Candy's performance as Dean Andrews in the 1991 Oliver Stone film JFK, which I also have on DVD, it makes me wonder if he'd have done more dramatic roles had he still been alive. Such wishful thinking. Rest in peace, John Candy. You were a national treasure to the world. And one of my favorite comedians. I gotta get around to reviewing Spaceballs one day. It's my favorite movie. I'm gonna do that. Spaceballs. But still, I definitely recommend Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. If you love John Hughes comedies, then this will not disappoint you. So, thanks for watching, ladies and gents. Until then, I'll see y'all next time, and have a happy Thanksgiving. Peace!